have to film the intro to this video again because for some reason my card didn't record it, so that's super. Hi guys, welcome back. This is the part 2 installation of how I got my horses videos. If you haven't seen the first part, it is linked down below. It's just after me and Dragonfly moved up to training, we started having problems making optimum time, and we were getting penalized pretty heavily for it because we were going too slow. It was just time to get a new horse that would be able to do that like easily. We decided to sell Dragonfly. Cindy Thaxton, who I clinic with frequently, you guys have seen videos of me clinicking with her, and she contacted us and was like, hey, I think I have a student that would be perfect. So me and Dad packed up the trailer and drove the 10 hours up to Georgia to have the lady look at Dragonfly. I took some lessons while I was up there. We got him all settled in and everything, and she rode him and she was like, I'm just not sure. And we were like, okay, well, we can leave him here on a trial. So she decided that she would keep him for the week and pay for that, and if she ended up not liking him, then she would pay for our travel up there, like gas money and everything, and his shipment back to Arkansas. And we were like, there's no way this lady's not gonna buy him. Meanwhile, my old trainer and her client were down in Florida looking for horses, and I was like, well, let's just go down there and buy a new horse. Dad was like, okay. So we drove the 5 hours down to Florida. I mean, while we were there, it's not that far. So we drive down to Florida, and the day I got there, I hopped on this horse named Mo, and I absolutely loved him. He was some kind of warm blood. He was really cool. The girl that had been riding him for a few years just jumped him over this 4-foot triple bar, and I was like, when I was 14, that was like mind-blowing. I was like, I want that horse, that could be mine. And I rode him, he had his changes, he was great, and I absolutely loved him. I tried Walla Walla Bing Bang, who was such a cool name. His name, they called him Wally. He was too expensive, and he jumped really flat over the fences. Like, I just didn't like his jump. Like, literally every time we drove to a farm and we watched a mare go, I was like, no, I'm good. So, like, so I passed up on all the mares, and then the last horse I tried was Beau. And this horse was covered in summer sores all around his fetlock. I don't know what those are. They're about like coin-sized, like red spots. They're like bloody and fleshy, and it's gross. And he had 11 staples in his forehead because apparently when they were going somewhere, he was hanging his head out the trailer window, like they were parked at a gas station, and he spooked and like hit his head and cut his typical Beau. I was like, ugh, and he looked really bad. Like, when I first saw him, he was like skinny and had a massive goose rump. Okay, I had to watch my footage to learn where I left off in my story because all that footage disappeared somehow. Isn't that frustrating? Can you focus on my face? Oh my god. I see this horse that looks atrocious, and the girl gets on him and she rides him around, and she takes him up to Liverpool, and he stops like 3 times, and I was like, I get on him and I immediately got that tingle. It's like, no, I want Mo. I just dismissed it. I was like, that's just because you're nervous or whatever. I started like trotting him around, and it was just a lot of horse because I'd only ever been used to like the deadhead, easygoing, honest schoolmaster. He was not. He was a fresh little thoroughbred. He was 10 at the time. So I started cantering him and jumping him, and I was just like getting so backed off. I really just did not want to ride him. What are you gonna say next? They were like, okay, we'll just come around and do this to this one, and I was like, you know what, actually, I'm done. I don't like this horse. I don't want to ride him. I'm not gonna buy him. And they were like, what? Okay, whatever. And so I hopped off of him. We took him back to the barn, and I said goodbye forever. Didn't want him. But like, there was a nagging thought in the back of my head, like, you got the tingle, Jill. You're ignoring it. I ended up deciding to go with Mo. He turned out to be too old. Go figure. A little part of me was like happy because the girl that had been riding him but couldn't afford him was like really upset, and she was like holding it back, but she was crying, and I was just like, I feel terrible taking away your horse. So that worked out like a little bit. So then we were just sitting in the entryway of the barn, and we were like, well, what do we do? I mean, like, the lady that was helping me horse shop was like, okay, well, you got 2 options. You can either pick from the horses that you already rode, or you can go home without a horse and keep looking. And I was like, my like little 14-year-old brain was like, I am not going home horseless. I need something to ride. The horse that I hated, I was like, you know what, I'll take Beau. And everyone was like, what? The one you asked to get off of? You want to take that one? And I was like, yeah, we'll work it out. Logic, okay. After that, in a nutshell, I started riding and working with Beau, and it was some of the hardest but best times I've ever had with a horse. Like, if I had to pick a hard horse, he's probably the hard horse. Beau is a 16 one-hand thoroughbred. He would never race. Big bay. He had 1 white foot. He's so cute. His show name was Heartthrob, and he had this like little heart on his forehead. Beau, like boyfriend, you know what I'm saying? I rode him for 6 months. He was good for the first little while. My trainer hated him. So I went to a Buck Davidson clinic when I first got him, right before he went off. He was just going sideways. He didn't want to jump. He was just being super obstinate. I just had a really bad feeling about it, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And Buck was like, let me get on him. And I was like, okay. So he gets on him, and he worked him for a solid 15 minutes, like out of a clinic group. That's like a lot of time. And Beau was completely white and lathered and just exhausted, but still was going sideways and wouldn't jump. Buck didn't do any better than I did, and I was like, I just want to clarify really quickly that Buck is definitely one of the best in the sport. Just obviously that day he had no idea that the horse was in pain, and neither did I, so the whole situation was a little off. All he could do in the moment was just make a judgment call based on what he saw and what he thought was best for horse and rider. The next day out on cross country, Beau was still going sideways, especially to bigger fences. He just did not want to jump and wouldn't stay in the approach. Buck pulled me aside. He was like, come here, and I was like, oh god. You never like that in a clinic. And he was like, this is too much horse for you. I think that you need to consider buying a different one. And I was like, okay, great. So then like half of my lesson was literally fighting tears because I was so upset. But like I couldn't just drop everything and buy a new horse. That's not how it works. Then he went lame and he was off for like 4 weeks, and we thought it was an abscess, and I didn't even realize how much time had gone by, and my coach was like, that's not an abscess. They don't last that long. And we had our vet come out and he was like, yeah, he's got a keratoma. So we ended up having to take him up to Oak Ridge in Oklahoma for an MRI to make sure what it was. Dr. Zubrod at Oak Ridge said that it was in fact a keratoma, and they had to take it out, and it took forever. And then it was like months and months and months of not riding and him on stall rest and walking him every day and tending to his foot. And it was just a nightmare. It was so stressful because he didn't want to hold it up, it hurt, and he was bored and he wanted to go out and run and be a horse instead of being inside all day. It was just a nightmare. The tail end of that 8 months, I finally got to start like doing walk and trot sets on him, like minimal work. I'm like losing my voice right now. He was good for another 6 months or a little longer than that, maybe like 8 something. And then he went off again, and we were like, he started going sideways again, and I was working with 2 trainers at the time, and I told both of them, I was like, something is wrong. He only does this when he's hurting, and like he has been going great, and now he's doing this again. And they were like, no, it's your leg is wrong, you need to fix this, you need to fix this. And I was like, I really think my horse is having a problem. Me and my dad both were like, the horse is having an issue. And we had the vet out, and sure enough, he had white line disease, which is not bad. We just had to cut up into that and like expose the bacteria to oxygen. And then that grew back down, and then I could start working with him again. This whole horse thing has taught me so much about trusting my gut, because I'm normally right about my animal. Like vets, farriers, they all say listen to the rider, not necessarily the coach, because the rider knows the horse best. After that, Beau was going really well. He was being a super duper individual. I ended up changing to my current coach now, Gina, working with her, and we got us going up through training successfully. We weren't winning anything because our dressage was still really ugly, but finally starting to have clean cross country. I say starting to have clean cross countries, but like we were starting to have cross countries where something didn't go wrong, like a bird flew out of the jump or his shoe came off or something. Like stuff just kept happening to like sabotage our rides. I don't know what the problem was. And maybe a rail here and there and show jumping just because I suck. That was supposed to be my move-up horse, and I only ever made it to training. We decided to sell him, and I wasn't really having any luck off my Instagram. Just a lot of people going, oh, I love him, how much is you selling him for? And I would be like, okay, but do you actually want to buy him? And they'd be like, no, I gotta sell my other horse first. And I was like, then leave me alone. We ended up sending him to Florida to the people that we bought him from. They heavily disappointed us. It was like after 3 months, and the guy that was supposed to be showing him hadn't shown him, and we were like, okay. After 3 months, we went back down to Florida to get him, and we picked him back up, and I didn't notice at first because he had a blanket on, and then I just stuck him back in the trailer. But when I got him home and got him off the trailer, he was so thin. He had 0 top line. He lost all the muscle in his neck, all the muscle in his back. His butt was like, you could see his goose rump again, which I had gotten rid of through like muscle, and he had a top line. And I was like, what the heck happened to my horse? And his feet were bad. I remember I went to a show after that and jogged him on the asphalt, and he was so lame because of the way that they were shoeing him. Like he was dead lame on the asphalt. And the farrier was like, no, it's just a shoeing. Started working to get him back, but I was so frustrated because everything I'd worked so hard for just went completely down the drain. I was really losing my drive to ride, and I blew up at Gina once during my lesson, and just was like screaming and throwing a fit because I was so frustrated at the situation and nothing was going the way I wanted it to. I loved him to death, but I wanted him sold. I had already been comfortable with him being sold when we sent him to Florida, and I finally was like in a place where I was ready to accept it, and then he came back and I got attached again. It was just like this dog pile of frustration. Yeah, I worked through it, and then I finally got to the point where I was accepting of it, and I was like, you know what, I'll work with him again. I'm just gonna keep him forever. Screw selling him. I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna keep him. Convinced myself. I was like, he's my horse. I want him forever. And then the lady that owned Zoe decided that she wanted to sell Zoe to me. So rewind a little bit back to when Beau was off. So the first time Beau went off, Sunny Shepherd, the lady that has all these thoroughbreds that I keep riding, she offered me a ride on Dudley when Beau was out for his keratoma surgery, so I was still able to ride and compete and keep going. And Dudley was like a young green off the track at the time, and he's Mary Cotton's horse out at my barn now. I took him to his first few shows, and then Beau got better and I started riding him. Well, the second time Beau went off with his white line, I started riding Zoe. Zoe is she's like 16-3 to 17 hand off the track thoroughbred mare. She did race like 7 or 8 times. She was like, hey, I got this 3-year-old. I want to take her to her first few shows. Do you want to ride her? And I was like, yeah, dude. I am so sorry for all the freeze frames, guys. I just forget to say some important details, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I know people tend to have issues with people riding and jumping younger horses, especially 3-year-olds, because the debate on when to start jumping them is kind of up in the air. However, we kept the jumps like maybe 2 foot, maybe 2-3 at most, and we took Zoe's body and how she was growing and her health into foremost consideration. Anything we did was way, way, way easier on her body than racing was. So she has not sustained any injuries from any of that. She's not arthritic. She's fine. Just wanted to let you guys know so that we don't get into an issue here. She brought her to me at this hunter jumper show. I was doing her over some of the classes, and I was like, she feels kind of off. So we got her looked at. She had an abscess. We were like, okay, well, we've already entered her in Holly Hill, and that's coming up really fast. So we just gave her that time off and hoped it would blow before Holly Hill, so I didn't get to ride her. I rode her at a hunter jumper show, and then I rode her for the first time again at Holly Hill, or the second time, I guess. I competed her at her first ever starter, just like I'd done with Dudley. She got 6th. She was such a good little bee. That video is still on here. I'll put a card up top. A local friend whose niece was riding with Gina at the time bought her, and it was gonna be her horse, but then she ended up letting me keep riding Zoe, so I was just like double teaming Beau and Zoe. Sunny, Zoe's breeder, who has supplied all of the off the tracks. I don't know if you guys have caught on to names yet. I'm trying to help. She and Zoe's new owner decided that they were going to help me like get to the young rider or whatever. That ended up not happening because I still had Beau, and they wanted us to help pay for it, and we couldn't because we still had Beau and everything, and it was just a nightmare. So that ended up not happening. Zoe went home. I still rode her occasionally out there. Then that added a little more resentment to Beau because I was just like, I had such an opportunity and you ruined it. But then I got over that and got more into Beau and everything. So sorry, this is probably super confusing. There's zero timeline here. It's all intertwined. So I kept riding Zoe while I had Beau, and then eventually I just stopped riding her altogether. So she came to me later and was like, okay, I'm just gonna give you Zoe. And I was like, what? And then like a week later, Beau sold to this local lady for literally nothing that we wanted. So it worked out that Zoe is really cheap too. So we ended up with her, and now here we are. But a little finishing on where Beau ended up. He didn't work out as a fox hunter because I kind of just like stuck him out in the fox hunting field and didn't really like acclimate him to it. And then when he acted out and was like scared, they were like, oh, he's not gonna make a fox hunter. Duh. They ended up selling him to this lady in Virginia who is into like a bunch of horsemanship and into a buck branding clinic. She wants to play horse soccer and just wants to have a good time. And she said it'll be his forever home. He'll be loved. They're gonna take care of him. And that's really all I could ever ask for. So, and now me and Zoe are working through this weird thing called life, and I don't think I'll ever sell her. I think that concludes it. I hope that I covered everything and answered all you guys' questions. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Hope to see you guys next time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, comment what you want to see next. If you like sit down talky videos like this, if you don't, let me know for sure so I quit filming them. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. I don't remember. Now it's time to edit. Editing time. Yay.
What's the difference? Big bang or collision? Love is blind. We had a vision now. Now we dead roses.